Everything you hear about these days is AI, AI, AI. And so I thought, wonder if I could somehow incorporate AI into my woodworking. So take a look at this video and see what we came up with. Now, I wanted to just give you a quick preview of what it is I'm making. This is a shark's tooth holder. It could also be used as a shell holder, just something you could display in your house. And one of the reasons I thought I'll do this is I'm actually flying to Florida tomorrow. We go to Venice, Florida, which is famous for their shark's teeth. So now that I've shown you what we're making, let's get into how we made it. Now, what I have for the shark's teeth I just bought this jar at Hobby Lobby. Paid $2.99 for it. And I'm going to go to my CNC and I'm going to cut out just a little pocket. And it's going to set this jar down in just slightly. And my purpose for this is I didn't really want to attach the top of the jar in any way. And I was worried about it getting knocked off the shelf. So I'm going to put a little pocket down in a piece of 1x4. And I'm actually going to epoxy this thing down in there so that it won't come off of the actual thing. Now, to put the shark's teeth or shells or whatever in there, you can just take the corks off while it's hanging on the wall and put the cork back on. So that's the plan, and hopefully this turns out okay. I've never made this before, so we're going to see what happens here. Now, one thing I want to mention is I did attach this to my spoil board with 2 screws. They're completely out of the way from the cutting path. The reason I did that is it's a small enough piece that I didn't think my toggle clamps were going to quite hold it the best. So I made sure I made this piece a little extra long to start so I can do that. So next I cut the board to length where this was going to mount against the wall. And then I decided at the last minute to just cut a doggy ear on each corner. And this was going to be the upper corner where it would hang on the wall. And I just thought I would add a little bit of detail. Let's paint these a beachy colored blue. So we're using satin sheen Seaside from Rust-Oleum. This was actually a piece I had left over for something else. I did cut a keyhole slot in the back to hang this on the wall. And we're just going to hit these with paint. So we're going to make this shark tooth holder. Now you can do the same thing with like seashells. So whatever it is that you collect, that would be fine. But I decided I wanted to cut an image on it using my CNC router. And I thought, why not go find an AI image instead of just getting a piece of clip art? So that brings us to ChatGPT. And you may have heard of this, you may have used this, but we're going to use ChatGPT 4 today. And the reason we're doing that is because it produces images. That is the paid version. There is a free version, ChatGPT 3. It does not create images. So if you want to do this, you would go to chat.openai.com. If you want to try it another way, you could go to any kind of image generator such as Midjourney. There's another one called Leonardo, I believe. So there's a few others out there. I use Midjourney a lot. I could not get the results I wanted for this. Just a little bit difficult. So I'm going to try it on here. So we are going to tell ChatGPT, I want a single black line drawing of let's try ferocious shark. The background should be white. Let's see what it says, or what it does. It should give us a drawing here. You can see it's going to start creating it. It says creating image. So I tried several different sharks here, and the designs just weren't quite coming out. I knew I wanted to just make a single line cut for this design, and everything was either too detailed or just really weird looking. So I decided, let's take another route here. This is an item to collect shark's teeth in. How about we cut a shark's tooth into the board? So I pivoted, and this is what I came up with. Okay, that will actually work. I think we're going to make that. Let me see if I can get one of a megalodon tooth. Like a single line drawing of a megalodon tooth. And we'll also try one just in case somebody wants to make one of a seashell. I need a single line drawing of a seashell. That's not a very good seashell. Give me another seashell. Oh, shoot. Okay. So we have two choices of teeth here. I just hit my cap on using ChatGPT. The seashell's terrible. I'm sure you get a better result. Maybe if I said a style of a shell, I don't know shells, but that might have been worked a little bit better. I'm looking at these two shark's teeth. The extra lines on this, it adds detail, but it also might add complications to the cut. I definitely want to get rid of this line and this line. Let's try this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the image, and I am going to open up Carbide Create, and I'm going to set up this file so that we can cut it out. I took the piece which was 5.5 wide, 10 3/8 high, 3/4 inch thick. So I set that up right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go here to trace image. We're going to go in to get the folder or the file that I made in ChatGPT, which is right here. And we're going to just hit trace image. Hit OK. It brings it in. Now, I already know that I don't want some of this, so I am going to ungroup it, and I'm going to click out here, and I'm going to click here, delete that line, click here, delete that line. Now I'm going to highlight the entire thing again and regroup it. Now, obviously, this is way too big. I really only need this to be about 3 inches tall. So I'm going to go to scale, and I'm going to go to the height, and I'm just going to put 3. Now, I also know that I need it about a 1/2 inch from the top, because I don't want this tip to be any lower than 3.5 from the top, because I have the jar that's going to come up, and it's going to interfere with it and you won't be able to see it. So I am going to double check my grid. Oops. My grid is a half, so that's not quite a half, it's 3/8. So I just want the tooth to be a little bit lower than this grid line right here. So it actually is probably about right where I want it, to be honest. Now all we're going to do is I'm going to wait. Yeah, it is grouped. I'm going to line the center so it gets it dead middle of this. And then I'm going to go into my tool paths. In my tool paths, I'm going to do what's called a V-carve, because we're going to use a V-bit for this. And I'm going to hit use current selection. The bit I'm going to use, the one I'm going to select this 45V. And this is a bit that I got from Tools Today. Very nice bit, does a really good job. It has an exchangeable knife in it, so if it gets dull, you can take it out. So I'm going to select that, and I am going to, you can see here where it's going to cut. Every one of these blue lines is a cut, and it should go out to the edge, which is the orange or reddish colored lines. We're going to change this to 0.2. And I'm going to hit show simulation. So you can see this is what it's going to look like. We're going to hide the tool paths here so you can actually see the cut. And you can see 3D wise kind of how it's going to look. So I like how it looks. I am going to save the tool paths. I'll save it in this file. Call it Meg Tooth. Now before I go too far here, I'm going to attach this jar to the wood. And I am going to do it using a UV resin. So this mixes together just like any other resin would. Let's go 50-50 mix. And I usually guess at this. Not a good way to measure these in a small amount. I just kind of eyeball it, get it close, and it's always been fine. Now, I can put a link to this in the description. Works pretty good. You need a UV light to activate it, but you can get an instant bond once you do. It takes about 15 seconds for this to harden under a UV light, 15 to 30 seconds at the most. And being that this is glass, it should be fine. I should be able to activate it without any problem, I hope. Other ways you could do this, I'm sure you could use like a clear silicone or any kind of clear glue. I wouldn't want to use like a wood glue because of the yellow it has to it. And I think, yeah, we're just going to pour this around the perimeter. I hope this works. Again, this does not have to hold a lot of weight. It's just mostly to crap, I stripped it. This is mostly just to hold it in place so it doesn't get tipped off of the shelf or anything like that. I'm going to clean that drip up. I'm going to place this jar down in. I got another spot where it oozed out. I'm going to get all that off because it's... And then I'm going to take the UV light and I'm just going to hit it like this. don't know if that'll do it or not right there. Why not when it falls over? So it's starting to hold. Holds pretty good. I'm pulling on it. There's no way that's tipping off. Just so you can see, this is still liquid. But if I held this light over this container for just a short amount of time, it's solid. So you can see it's solid enough that I can pick it up with a stick. That was less than 30 seconds. So it works pretty good. It has its limited uses, but for some things, and something like this, that's pretty good use. That'll hold on there real well. So that part is done. Now we're going to cut this out. We're going to cut a shark's tooth out right above here. See how it turns out. So now I'm just going to decide where this is going to go. I want it to be something like that. I don't like it. I don't want it directly on the bottom. I need to make sure it doesn't interfere with the image up here. So it's going to be about that far off the bottom. I just need to make sure it gets centered. So I'm going to say a 1/2 inch off the bottom. As for centering, one quick, easy way to center something is to line it up with one edge. Measure the whatever you have left over. And then divide by 2. So that is, it's just about 2 inches. So we're going to say 1 inch in from each side. Make a mark. Real light. This paint is still a little tacky. 1 inch. And then we're going to measure up a 1/2 inch from the bottom. Couple marks. Alright, so it's going to set about like that right there. So I'm going to pre-drill a hole. Maybe somewhere in there for a screw. And then I'm going to clamp this in place. Now I'm going to take my drill bit before I do this and just go through the holes I already made. That way I have less chance of the piece I'm screwing into of splitting. And then just going to put these screws in. double checking to make sure it didn't move before I sink this last one. Blow the dust out of my cup. And there you have it. I didn't paint the back. Didn't have the time to really do it. So I would probably normally paint the back, which I could still do easily. Got a keyhole slot right here. Easy to hang on the wall. People can take this off, put the shark's teeth in, and good to go. So here's the final result. You can see it's fairly simple design. And my point wasn't really to make a complicated project, but I wanted to show how you could use AI to make a design and cut it out on the CNC. It really was pretty easy to do. Sometimes it takes longer to generate the image you want. There's a lot of guides out there online to show you how to do it. So I'm not going to get into it in this one. But there's plenty of information out there to figure it out. The sky's the limit with this stuff. It's pretty cool. And I found that and did that in a very short amount of time. If I would have spent more time with the design process, I'm sure I could have found a lot of different options for this. But I think it works really well. Looks pretty cool. Would look nice hanging in a beach house or even at your home when you bring shells or shark's teeth or whatever, and then you can put it on display at your house. Just something kind of like a cool little souvenir that you could make for yourself, and just display your collection. You could even put some sand in there to create the effect a little bit if you wanted to. But the main thing, like I said, was to get the AI part of it into here to show you how you can do that. If you are interested in the epoxy that I use here, I can put a link down in the description. It's just a UV epoxy. I got the jar at Hobby Lobby, so they had a bunch of different options. Some they're pretty cool options they have there. And I actually didn't think about the gluing part until I got back home and I already purchased this. I wanted something with a pretty wide neck because sometimes you find some big teeth. And so that's why I picked this one, but there are other options. So you can go there and see what they have. But aside from that, thanks so much for watching and joining us. And watch these videos on this next screen, and we'll catch you next time.